Hi, I'm Scott Benson, and today I'd like to talk to you about the Quick Access Toolbar. The Quick Access Toolbar is usually located in the upper left corner here, but you can change it to be under the ribbon by clicking the double down arrows and show below the ribbon. I find this a lot more convenient and easier to get to. This is what my Quick Access Toolbar currently looks like. After that, I'll step you through how to do this yourself. I'd just like to note that these two tools, the Pick Up and Apply Style tools, were mainstays in my Quick Access Toolbar for a long time, but then it got easy to remember the shortcuts, so I just replaced them with that. Okay, so to modify it, you come up to here, click the double down arrows, and you choose More Commands. So by default, it'll be under Popular Commands, but none of the tools that I like are popular. So I come down to All Commands. And this gives you a huge list of everything that you can put in the Quick Access Toolbar. So the first thing I do is remove the things that are in here already by clicking one, clicking Remove, 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 Remove. I already know the keyboard shortcuts for those and I don't need them in there. So the first batch that I'd like to put in is the Align tools. Those are conveniently grouped under A, under Align. The order that I like to put them in is left, center, right, top, middle, bottom. Just by playing around with this is the order that made sense to me. But you're free to move them around any way you want using these up and down arrow keys over here. Now, the next batch attached to the aligns is the distribute tools. So you'll see there's a distribute columns and distribute rows. This is for tables. This isn't going to help us. What we need is distribute horizontally and distribute vertically. These tools are for objects. Then I go down under L and I pick line spacing. Then move down here to S. Choose subscript and superscript. And then I go for the Boolean tools or the shape modification tools. Now these are scattered all over the place, which is a little annoying, so you just have to hunt for them. First one is subtract shape, then up to C, all the way up here for combine shapes, then F for fragment, then all the way down here to U for union. And then the last thing that I usually put in is symbol, just right here. And that's pretty much it. You can put anything else that you'd like in here. When you're done, you hit OK. So let's go through these. The first thing I'd really like to point out is the Pick Up and Apply Style tools, which I did not put in here because I've replaced them with keyboard shortcuts. These are standard shortcuts. This tool is invaluable for making slides look presentable really quickly. So you take your source and you make it anything that you want. You can change the shape, the outline, the font, size of the font, shadow even. So then you click it, Control-Shift-C, come over here, click your source, your target object, Control-Shift-V. And if you start typing, it's the same font as well. This is great if you have just like a dozen objects on the slide that are all different styles and just kind of messed up, and then you want to convert them all. You just come back here, Control-Shift-C, go over to all of these, Control-Shift-V. Now these are the Pick Up and Apply Style tools. They look like little eyedroppers, and they're in the Quick Access Toolbar as well, in that list under All Commands if you'd like to put them in. I recommend the shortcuts though. The next tools are the Align tools. Now what these do, so if you have a bunch of scattered objects, you can just pick one, like align middle here, and it'll line them all up. Pick another one, like distribute horizontally, and it'll put an even amount of space in between them. This is great for setting up grids and just making things look a little bit neater and tidier on the slide. The center one's a little easier to get your head around, but the left and right and top and bottom ones take a little bit of thinking through until you get used to it. Basically what this does is it takes the edge of the bounding box, that's this box that PowerPoint puts around an object when you select it, and the furthest one that's, in this case, to the top, it'll take the top edge of this and then align the top edges of all of the other ones to the furthest one that is at the top. So if you hit align top, it'll move them all like that. If you had hit align bottom, it would align them all up with the bottommost bounding box edge of the bottommost object. Like this. Same thing works with the left and the right. It's worth practicing with these things just to get good at it, because then you can make grids really quickly. Another thing that you can do with this is if you take all of your objects and you've lined them up and you've distributed them, but you want them centered in the slide, if you group them, Control G, and then hit the center button here, it'll center it to the slide. You can also align it to the middle of the slide to put it pretty much dead center. Very useful. The next tool is the line spacing tool. Make that a little larger. So this tool allows you to change the spacing in between the lines, also known as leading. So you can make them double spaced if you'd like. Typically I avoid that portion of the tool, and I'll show you why in a second here. There's another part in here called spacing, and there's a before and after. Just pick one of these and stick with it. I usually go with before. So this will change the spacing in between paragraphs, not just lines. Okay, so the difference is it affects this spacing here and not the spacing in between the lines. That's usually what you want. You typically want things to be single spaced. On some occasions you might want to alter it a little bit one way or the other with 0.9 or 1.1. But usually you want it at 1.0, and then you want more space in between the paragraphs. Now paragraphs in PowerPoint are designated by hitting the Enter key between two lines or blocks of text. If you want them to break within the paragraph, you hold Shift and hit Enter, and then it's not affected by the paragraph spacing. So that's the line spacing tools. Next up is superscript and subscript. I don't use these a lot, but when I do want them, I don't want to hunt around for them, and I never remember where they are. Superscript basically places the text high and makes it smaller. Subscript makes it lower. It's good for trademarks, it's good for footnotes. Again, I don't use it too much, but when I do, I want it right there. The next set of tools is really fun. This is the Boolean tools, or the shape modification tools. So let me go through these. The first one that I always use is subtract. You take the shape that you want to subtract pieces from, then you shift click the shape that you want to subtract, hit the subtract shapes button here, and it takes a chunk out of it. This is useful for doing things like making a moon. And these are actually real PowerPoint shapes, so you can stretch them, edit them, do whatever. The next one is the intersection tool. That does, if I make the fill, that will basically take any overlapping portion of it and delete it. So if I take both of these and I hit this, combine shapes, it removes the center section. Send this to the back. So you can see it's an actual hole in the shape. So that's pretty useful for Venn diagrams and the like. The next one is the fragment shape, and it's pretty similar, except what this one does is it makes geometry out of all three pieces. So now you can have an easy way of making footballs. The last one's union. This one I use quite a bit. You can just make a whole bunch of different shapes. Even draw your own. Then if you take all of these, click the union button, it creates one single shape out of it. So if you want no fill. So these are really handy for just quickly mashing together shapes to build custom ones. Okay, the last one is symbol. A little larger. Basically gives you this whole list of glyphs here that you can just enter into the line of text, wherever that is. So wherever your cursor is in the text before you click the glyphs, that's where these things will go. This is useful for copyright symbols or math or anything like this that it's difficult to find on the keyboard. That about wraps it up. So I hope you find this useful. Thank you.